I remember people thinking in 2015 that we were too late. People used to download 50 apps a year, and now they only download 3. So how are you going to be one of those apps? We were immediately ranked 7th in the App Store, and we're getting 100 downloads a day. Every year, like clockwork, we would like quadruple from wherever he saw us last. We're very like one foot in front of the other. If people like it, then we'll look at it harder and figure out how to make it better.
What advice would you give to like a newer founder that might be launching into health and wellness space?
When you zoom out, it looks really smooth. But when you're doing it, when you're in the daily, you're like...
Hey, are you Carlos Ormachea, the founder of Down Dog, the multi-million-dollar yoga app?
Yep, that's me.
No way. So, Carlos, I'm here at the park right now. I'm going out here to touch some grass, get a little loose, stretch out the hamstrings a little bit. I was looking for some yoga apps, found Down Dog, and figured as a fellow app enthusiast, I would just call you myself and ask you, what the heck is this thing? How'd you start it? And how'd you get it to where it is today?
That's good.
Sounds good. Tell us, what is Down Dog?
What do you know about Down Dog? I'm curious.
I know that it's a yoga app that allows me to become not so tight in the glutes, in the hamstrings, and the rest of my body.
Yep.
And that's all I know.
So the special thing about Down Dog is that everything is AI generated. And what that means is that you have infinite variety, infinite customization, and you can do it forever and never do the same thing twice.
60,000 unique workouts, right?
I think even more now, because now you could even like and dislike individual poses that you want to do or not do. And so it's really actually each person is doing their own thing.
When you launched, was it that amount of workouts as well? Or how was that expanded since you started?
When we launched, it was like, I think we launched literally just with our beginner practice. We launched pretty quickly. It was just a beginner practice. And I think the only customization was time. I think that's right. So you could pick anything between 25 minutes and 60 minutes, I think is where we had it for our beginner one practice. That's like how we launched.
Interesting. And what was the story behind actually having this idea?
It was my co-founder's idea. He did a master's in AI. He was doing a yoga teacher training, and he realized he could smash the two together and make infinite yoga.
Interesting. So how did you come into play? What was your original job title? What was your role within the company?
I convinced him to do a startup, basically. So like I was escaping law school.
Okay.
I wanted to do a startup. I was learning how to code. I was like doing everything. He was working at Google. He was going to go to grad school. And I convinced him, I was like, if you're going to go to grad school, why don't you try a startup for like a year?
Right.
If you don't like it, go to the grad school after. If you do like it, then I saved your life.
Now, was it always going to be an app, or did it start off as like a website or like a web platform, or how did that start?
And this was 2015. So you make an app. You don't even think about it.
Right.
But we did actually, the very first version of the product was just a website that I think like somehow Reddit found out about. And we got like 12 diehard fans who were using it every day. I think like none of whom were in the US, which really for me was like, that's how I started believing that people would actually work out at home.
Of course. So when you guys were going through that launch period, was it a competitive market? Was there a ton of other yoga apps out there?
What's funny about all this stuff is I remember people thinking in 2015 that we were too late, that there were already so many yoga apps. But when we looked at it, there was really only one that we thought was good. It was called Yoga Studio that got acquired by, it was like a husband and wife duo. I think they were British. And they got acquired like 2 years into it. I mean, definitely the websites were around, but it didn't seem like the apps were huge.
Interesting.
But this was like, I remember in 2015, there was an article, a very important article in the tech circles was like that people weren't downloading apps anymore.
Right.
It was like, now people used to download 50 apps a year, and now they only download 3. So how are you going to be one of those apps? So people felt like we were late back then.
Right. So how'd you go to market? How did you guys get in front of new users?
That is where we just seem to constantly get lucky. So when we uploaded it to the App Store, we were immediately ranked 7th in the App Store, and we're getting 100 downloads a day. And so instantly we were like, okay, 100 downloads a day, we should just, as long as we convert more of those people and get word of mouth from those people, we're good. So we immediately just care about the product, and we haven't stopped.
Interesting. So ever since then, has the strategy shifted, or has it been the same user acquisition methods since then?
We don't even think about user acquisition. We just think about the product.
They just come to you.
They just come to us.
So what are you guys doing for App Store optimization? And also on that note, I saw you guys have like at this point several different types of branded apps. You have Pilates, you have yoga, etc. You have all these different types. How many different apps do you guys have?
Yoga is the big one. Pilates is next. Then meditation hit. We also have a prenatal yoga app and a bar app that we're gonna fix. It's not that great. Don't download it. The other ones are great.
So you guys focus on product. I love that. And another thing, you guys during COVID actually made the app free, right? And obviously that goes a long way for brand. So how does brand come into play here, and how do you guys focus on that type of thing?
Well, when we started, we were freemium. We basically always we're pretty liberal with giving it out for free.
Right.
Ben and I met at Brown, which is kind of like a hippie school. So we have like deep hippie DNA in our company. I think right now, half of our monthly active users don't pay us. It might be more, honestly. Yeah.
What do you guys do within the app ultimately you can only do so much as far as optimizing the product. And it sounds like you guys place a top priority on constantly improving the product. What type of things are you guys doing on a day-to-day to make sure that the product is continuously getting better?
We're very one foot in front of the other type type company. So we're pretty low on strategy, and we just always think about there's like some issue that's coming up, or we're building some very next thing. We have someone working on content right now.
Right.
We're finishing up somatic yoga is like a new category that we're going to launch.
What is somatic yoga?
Somatic yoga is it's like slower and more about noticing the feelings in your body. So it's like taking the time to think about how your body feels in every pose, compared to something like vinyasa where you're like moving and getting really sweaty.
Yeah. Interesting.
So we're going to launch that. We don't even know if people are going to use it, but we're just like, let's build it. Then let's launch it with a single voice actor. If people like it, then we'll look at it harder and figure out how to make it better. We don't even know what we're going to do after that. That's kind of how
that's what people need to do with any product. Just ship it, get the user feedback, and go from there, right?
Yeah.
What advice would you give to like a newer founder that might be launching into health and wellness space, besides just focusing on a good product?
So I think the big thing is don't do it if you're not willing to do it for years without anybody noticing you. If you don't believe in this thing enough to do it for 3 to 5 years without doubting yourself every day, don't even start. Because I do think that's what's required. And I also think if you can do that, if you can actually like show up every day for 5 years, you also will win.
What would you say for people that like, they understand that, but they still struggle with the day-to-day of launching a startup and getting punched in the face a couple times, getting a quick win, and then taking 5 step backs, just going through the ups and downs of that entrepreneurship and launching in a competitive space like it is today? Because it's not like it was back in 2015, right? So it's a very competitive market. Yeah. What would you tell those people just from a mindset standpoint and just overall, consistency standpoint?
I think it is going to be up and down. What's funny is I remember I have a friend, I just hung out with this friend this weekend. He would visit me. We started in Seattle. He basically visits me every year. And every year he would ask how Down Dog was going. And every year, like clockwork, we would like quadruple from wherever he saw us last. He was like, but every time you guys were worried about that was it. Like it was never going to grow more. There was nothing else you could figure out.
Yeah.
And that's totally what it is. It's just like when you zoom out, it looks really smooth. But when you're doing it, when you're in the daily, you're like trying stuff that doesn't work, basically. So I don't think there's any way out of the roller coaster. I think it's basically like, do you want the roller? Are you okay with the roller coaster? Is the question.
Love that. So you talked about, obviously you tried some things and they totally flop. Can you give like one example of something that you guys tried that just blew up in your face that like just didn't work at all?
Great. So we tried that blew up in our face.
Maybe it was like a partnership.
Sleep stories. I took it on as a pet project to do sleep stories. I was trying to figure out how we could use AI. So there are these sleep stories that were written by AI and voiced by AI. And I worked on it for like 3 months and no one even chose it. This is one of the things that's funny about users. So like we asked them, like we put up a poll. We were like, do you want sleep stories? They said yes. And then we launched sleep stories and no one even tries it.
No one tried it at all.
No one even tried it. And so now the only way we test things is we actually put it up as an option. And then when they tap it, it's like coming soon. And then we log that like, okay, they actually want it. And so we'll never make anything ever again without putting it up as an option as if it already exists and seeing if people pick it.
Well, sometimes you just have to put it out there and see what happens, right? And go from
but this is the cheapest way to put it out there, which is you just put up a button, and that takes like an hour. Put up a button, and then find out that people want it or not. This is how we found somatic yoga. So we like put up that button, people wanted it. So okay, now it's safe to build. Now the question is, did we build the right thing?
Right.
That's like much better than building something.
Of course.
Spending all your time building something and then finding out nobody wants it.
Of course. Let the users steer the ship. Of course. So, Carlos, you've been doing this for like 10 years, man. Right? It's been a crazy journey. What's been like the most like, I can't believe I'm doing this moment in the last 10 years? You said you were in law school, right?
I was in law school. I did not go back. I dropped out of my 4th semester.
You obviously did not become a lawyer.
Did not become a lawyer. I think I did not become a lawyer. This last year was in August, I think, was the 10-year anniversary of creating the code repository. The first commit
That's
was
wild.
2014 August.
Yeah.
And so we celebrated by going back to Seattle, which is where we started.
Right.
And we went to the yoga studio that Ben did his yoga teacher training at, which is also basically where I had done yoga, but I hadn't done it obsessively. That's where we, like, our schedule for the first 2 years was just like, wake up, work, go to yoga, work. And we'd always go to the Grinning Yogi in Seattle, which was this amazing spot. And it's like this, you take a couple steps down and it's like this smallish, it's not like a huge studio, it's a smallish studio in this dark space. And we went back there in August, and I think like something really struck me about,
you're just like, wow, full circle.
it's not just full circle, it's also these like big projects that like can touch a lot of people are also really small. Down Dog was made in a 1-bedroom apartment and in that 1,500 square foot yoga studio. And there's something crazy about these little cocoons of like a couple people can like make something that then touches everybody. And something about like taking my Shavasana back in that studio, it really hit me. It was like, oh, it happened like in here.
Wow. That's deep. That's deep. So what's the next 10 years going to look like? What's 2035? What's happening with Down Dog?
I was just talking about, I have no idea. I think we're pretty committed to, we're going to run this forever. AI is crazy, right? So I have no idea. Like in 10 years, we could all be taking orders from robots. I just have no, and I think it is correct to be that uncertain about the future. I do think Down Dog is fairly inoculated. Like, you know, we serve videos, and whether we do that through an AI or not, I don't think AI is going to replace the sequencing. The general purpose AI is going to replace the sequencing method. And I don't think there's much reason to anyway. But I have no idea how society is going to look. So I have no idea how Down Dog's going to look. I mean, like a question we have is like, will the App Store matter?
Right.
It's very unclear.
Very true.
So we might have to figure out something.
Absolutely.
But,
well, nice. So where can everyone keep up with, obviously they can download Down Dog and its mini apps in the App Store, Google Play. Where else can everyone keep up with your journey?
That's the best way, to be totally honest. I think like we don't share much, you know, or I don't think we posted on Instagram in like 3 months or something. So the best way is to use our stuff. We really like making our stuff. And if you use our stuff, you'll know exactly who we are.
Amazing. Well, Carlos, looking forward to keeping up with your journey. You're definitely an inspiration to a lot of the early stage founders building in the health and wellness space. So it's really cool to see what you've been able to do, and excited to keep up with the journey.
Great. Thanks for calling.
Awesome. Thanks, Carlos. Appreciate it, man. See ya.